Hello and welcome back to the thearkofe podcast. My name is Noah and I am here with a very special guest to do something that we've been sorely lacking on recently. We're going to talk music finally, and the man who's going to help me do it, none other than the very, very talented, very special Mr. Sunshine Mayfield joins me once again over the phone.
Hey, I'm here.
Yes, you are. You are here.
That was an introduction.
Yeah, I called you special a lot. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was trying to make up for
Very
that one time that I
talented.
said
I don't
it
know
wasn't
what
a big
I'm
deal that
talented
you were on
at,
here. It's always
but-
a big deal whenever we can get somebody else on mic other than Gavin. And I think last
Gavin
time you
does
and I
great
chatted, I
work.
promised like, oh yeah, Barham's going to be on here, Tim's going to be on here. Nothing. Not a drop.
What are they doing?
I don't know. You know, I keep reading all of these, or reading and hearing all of these stories about like, oh yeah, I reconnected with like a friend from 10 years ago I hadn't checked in with because of quarantine, and you know, just everybody checking in with people. And I'm like, my friends are not doing that at all. We're like barely talking to each other. Everybody's just kind of handling it in their own way. I check in maybe like once every 2 weeks with people, but you and I definitely have the steadiest flow of communication for sure.
Saying a lot, man. I'm just crushing episodes of Survivor. Out of all the things and all of the like
Still on
media
Survivor.
that is out there that is unwatched by me that I could be watching, I just have been ripping through seasons of Survivor. And my plan is to go on the show. That's my plan. I'm doing research.
Do it.
That I'm looking
Yeah.
at it.
Send in
Yeah,
your
just
info,
trying to do
man.
my best, you know.
That,
Got to
that-
figure out the best way.
That
to
would be
win.
my excuse to watch if somebody I knew was actually going to be on there. That would be crazy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I would be a villain.
Okay.
I would that would be the role I would try to play.
You would just recapture the magic of, is it Richard Hatch? Is that the first one?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Have they brought him back for any of these like other seasons?
He went back for a second season after the first initial win, but then he got voted off, but honestly it was after like some pretty shaky, like he was naked and rubbed his genitals on someone.
Oh,
It
I
was
vaguely
a whole
remember this.
shtick.
Okay.
So like he might be a pretty poor human. He also like there's a lot of like tax evasion and like so yeah, not a big fan of that guy. I don't think that's what I would be going for.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we are going to talk music eventually, but while we're here at the top, yeah, any other TV other than Survivor that you've been working on?
I've been catching up on devs at your request.
Finally.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah, we were talking a bit beforehand. You started to tell me your feelings on, you said you're 5 deep?
I'm 5 deep.
How,
I like it. I like
Okay.
it. I'm sitting at like if I'm rating where I'm at right now, I'm like at an 8. I'm sitting at an 8. You know.
All right.
I'm waiting for it all to come together. Like it's great. Like it's very tonal. It's got my like NWR lighting cues that I like love so
one
much.
of the best looking shows in recent memory, for sure.
It's absolutely gorgeous, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But there's some things like I am still not super convinced. That our boy Ron Swanson, I can't think of his name right now.
Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman.
Yes.
Is set up for this role. So I'm waiting to see like.
See, I dug him from the top, and it only got better as the show went along for me personally. So I don't know if you're gonna like turn a corner on him, but
Well, and he's not bad, right? He's not. It's not like you say like, oh, he's bad at this role. And it's not that I am latched onto him as like Ron Swanson. Like I typically don't have an issue with actors going out of what they're known for. I'm still waiting to see. I think it's maybe more of his character. I'm really waiting to see like. You get the motivation at this point for his character,
right.
But I'm really waiting to see it like culminate into whatever the peak of the season is going to be.
Yeah, and I will definitely be curious what you think of how things ultimately unfold. So I guess you have 3 left. Maybe next time we check in with you, we'll do a full-on devs review. I know we're a little late to the party in terms of the podcast conversation, but we always
how many people are watching it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't
it
know how
hasn't
many people
been
are currently
I think there was a core like cinematic group of Garland fans who were always going to be hyped about it, and so there was a lot of conversation on that front. But as far as like crossover appeal, I don't know. I haven't talked to like an average viewer, quote unquote, and gotten their take on it. So yeah, I don't know.
I do wonder if this was what Amazon was hoping for with Too Old to Die Young was like the watchability of this show, where it's still like relatively brutal. It's still got that air of mystery to it. It's got those weird art house scenes that that we dig, with like rats and lights and stuff. And I wonder if that's the type of thing Amazon was like hoping for, like with dropping the sci-fi element. Like
I think in particular, we talked about it a little bit on earlier episodes, but 000, which they released earlier this year, felt like a more palatable attempt at a Too Old to Die Young-esque thing, but it didn't necessarily have the same auteur feel to it from start to finish.
Right.
This definitely is like, this is basically what I want, most of prestige TV to be, which is like Twin Peaks: The Return, Devs, Too Old to Die Young. Just give a director like free reign to do their magic, basically. That's what I would love for all of these projects to be. But, we get one every couple years, and it's great.
Yeah. I watched the first half of Hollywood on Netflix.
Okay. Have not dipped my toes in at all. That's
You're
the new
fine
Ryan
not
Murphy,
to. It's
correct?
fine. It's,
okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's, yep. Like, it's...
Are you
you're
going
not
to be
gonna
finishing
dislike
it?
it. No, I probably won't.
Okay.
You kidding me? I'm only on season 17 of Survivor. I've got up to 40 seasons that I got to knock out.
You
and
can't
who knows how
interrupt
long
that.
this quarantine's going to last. I got to get it out before. I can't like assume this is going to be a 3-month process, right? So I got to watch as much as I can.
Right. That's what I find myself doing, is trying to prioritize. I'm like, theoretically, it could end like any day. They could be like, hey, we need you back at work. But so I'm like, okay, well, I should watch this before I start this. But, I'll have time for that, but maybe I won't. I don't know. So, yeah.
I'm amazed how
extreme
many,
first world
like,
problems
new
there, trying to
things I
decide
haven't
my
watched,
streaming
right?
schedule.
Yeah, no. So Hollywood's based off the first 4 episodes, right? So I can't speak to it. I'm not gonna say it's bad. It's super watchable. It's super easy to get behind. It just seems it's gonna sound weird. It seems like a Hollywood telling of historical fiction. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it just seems like it's cleaned up in some ways, or like to made more palatable than maybe the real types of situations really were.
Surprising coming from Ryan Murphy. You would think it would maybe be more sensationalistic. I don't know, but
I don't know. It's fun. Like nothing is hooking me, right? So, and part of it is I think the cast is fine. And
yeah, I was
it.
intrigued by the trailer. I'm always interested in stuff set in that era, but I hadn't heard anybody who was like, no, this is like the new great thing from Netflix. So I've yet to check it out, and I guess I probably will put that one way on the back burner.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Okay.
You're not gonna do anything that's like needs to be.
I know you
I don't know how
also
right?
tapped out around episode 5 of Westworld season 3, which just wrapped up. And we've had conversations through text. I don't necessarily think I can tell you to go back and finish it, because it wasn't exactly a satisfying endpoint, but I was amazed that, in the same kind of fashion they did with the end of season 2, they do some post-credit stuff that's presumably table setting for the next season. And part of me is like, oh, they got me again, but then I'm like, but they pulled this trick on me twice now. So I will begrudgingly probably watch season 4, but I don't really hate watch anything, but I might be there with season 4 of this show. I don't know.
Which we talked about it, and not having seen the end credit sequence of this, but seeing the end credit sequence of Outsider. I just don't need it all the time. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't need to be that thing that it is. And I think it's a fun shtick with Marvel, and I would be totally okay if everybody else stopped doing it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, but I don't want to be a downer. Like it's not what I'm doing. But things that are still streaming that you can watch that I love. Newsrooms on HBO. Watch that. I'm a big fan. Slowly dipping my way through the West Wing. If we're talking about things that are the opposite of East.
Yes.
So, instead of watching season 3 of Westworld, watch season 3 of West Wing, and you'll likely find it more enjoyable.
Go for it, for sure. I'm also, I think it's midway through the run of Run, the new HBO show.
Yeah.
And it has still yet to fully engage me, but I'm kind of passively watching it week to week and being like, I'm enjoying it, but I don't see it all of a sudden arriving at some grand conclusion where I'm like, oh, this was one of the best shows of the year. But that being said, I'm enjoying the performances, and it's fairly compelling week to week. So yeah, that's a soft recommend for that. And then I just finished up a rewatch of Eastbound and Down. That was incredible. For those who care, still working my way through Mobile Suit Gundam, the original series, which has been great. And that's about it on the TV front for me. And movie-wise, other than stuff that I'm doing for 2x2 Retro Reviews with Gav that I can't talk about yet, rewatch Slums of Beverly Hills, which is on Hulu, if you haven't seen that movie, and you're a fan of like Russian Doll, for instance, from last year, which we were, I think, kind of across the network. That's early performance from Natasha Lyonne, directed by Tamara Jenkins. Really, really fun movie if you've never seen it.
You didn't say Troop Beverly Hills, did you?
No, Slums of Beverly Hills. But on that note, I did watch Troop Beverly Hills about 2 weeks ago, because that's one of my girlfriend's favorites, and that movie totally holds up. That's
it's a pleasant little watch.
Well. Yes.
We don't need no stinking badges.
Yeah. Lots of young
jokes.
people who went on to big things after that. Interesting young cast. What else? Oh, last night, for possibly like the 50th or 60th time, I watched Can't Hardly Wait because it's on Netflix and I needed something to throw on.
I
And
also
it was
rewatched that.
Oh, hell yeah. I was like, I'll watch for like 45 minutes before I get tired, and ended up watching the whole thing because that's what happens. So
Things that totally don't happen at parties. People do not like just random karaoke with like one boombox and like a mic that
and set to
on.
Guns N'
So it's just
Roses,
like-
but that moment
it's
still
like-
totally plays for some reason. I had this revelation last night, though, where I was like, I would love to talk about that movie, but it's one of those where it's like you'd just be kind of repeating bits from it, but it would be a perfect movie to do a commentary track for. Because I've seen it
like
a billion
what holds
times.
up
There's
and
so
what
much stuff
doesn't.
going on in
Yeah.
the background, and like, yeah, it would have to be that kind of experience going through it.
And it's amazing how many
commentary track.
teen actors, some before their big break and some after their big break, just play bit parts across the board.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like to have Donald Faison before Scrubs, which is like, oh, that's cool.
Jason
and then
Segel, like in the midst of Freaks and Geeks, but it's not quite a
Right,
thing
yeah.
yet. Like it's
Melissa
not a
Joan
cult
Hart,
thing yet.
definitely after her heyday, or like right in the middle of her heyday, she's playing a bit part. Jennifer Love Hewitt, who has a career after this, but like really, I Know What You Did Last Summer.
She's a '90s
and
girl
Can't
for
Hardly
sure.
Wait.
Yeah.
Like that is it, right? So, and she definitely does some TV stuff. So she's the major role. Seth Green, who's classic all the time, right? So from Airborne to now.
And then, who steals the entire movie in that giant ensemble is still Lauren Ambrose, who I think is arguably the best actress in that entire movie, and went on to have probably the most respectable career as an actress, a capital A actress, if you will. Yeah. Eric Balfour
who's
is
the
in
woman
there
from
as a
Dharma and
stoner.
Greg?
Yeah. What?
Who the Dharma and Greg? Who's the Dharma?
Jenna Elfman, is that right?
I don't know. That's why I asked.
She was Dharma, right?
Yeah, I guess. So she's in it as the stripper.
Yes.
The angel. Yeah.
Again,
so it's a
yeah,
fun,
that's
it's a fun
that would be
crew.
the entire commentary. If somebody wants us to do that, would just be us pointing out, hey, this person was in that, and this is a funny line.
Recognize that? And then I'm a sucker for off the camera lines. So lines when people walk in and off camera, someone's like, "You spilled my drink, butthead."
Oh yeah,
Like,
there is some
love
great
those.
ADR stuff throughout that movie. The way they sustain the party atmosphere with all the extras. It's one of those now I literally just background watch because I know all of I know the core
All
of the
the
movie,
beats.
so I'm just looking for cool, interesting shit in the background. Didn't really find anything in particular last night, but it would be a fun rewatch for anybody.
But holds up relatively well.
I think so.
Yeah.
There's definitely a
problematic.
bit of nostalgia at play, but I think it is genuinely a very funny movie and manages to be a good mosaic of high school, which I don't think is always captured that well, where it's you've got all sorts of different little cliques, but they all feel like actual human beings, even as over the top as some of it is.
Because they merge together, right? Like there's still people hanging out together, even though they're not necessarily in the same crew of high school.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a fun little watch.
Yeah. That's
So,
pretty much it for me on the movie and TV front. So if you want to kick it over
yeah.
and start talking some tunes, we can take the music arc out for the first time in a long time.
Open that box, Noah. Open it.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got.
Okay. I mean, I know the main reason you wanted to do this. We got to talk about the new Oh Brother record that just dropped.
We have to,
as we're recording
just
this,
dive into it. Absolutely.
yes. As we are recording this, it is not publicly available on streaming sites like Spotify, etc.
Tomorrow.
It will be out on Friday, probably when you're probably hearing this episode, maybe a day or two later, because it's going to take me a bit to edit the tunes into this one. But so it should be available on your streaming platforms. But seriously, go to Bandcamp, where most of us did last Friday, and give them some money because they're self-releasing it. They have some gorgeous vinyls available. They're on their third pressing right now, which is incredible. They've already sold out of their first two. I think the third one's probably sold out by now as well. They were the number one band in vinyl sales on Bandcamp on May the 1st, which was a big sale day where they waived all the fees. That was incredible to see. And they were the number 2 artist overall. So just so exciting for us. We've been fans of them for a very long time. And I couldn't resist. I literally threw down for a bundle at midnight. I got my digital download code. I've got a vinyl in the mail, a poster, a t-shirt, etc. And I'm glad I pulled the trigger on it before I even listened to the record, literally based on the single and the fact that I already love them. But I was completely floored by this and immediately listened to it again the second it was over. Walk me through your experience with it the first time. And did you listen to both singles beforehand or just Killing Spree?
I did. So I listened to Killing Spree and I listened to Halogen Eye.
See, I had not listened to Halogen Eye until the album.
All right.
If that's even relevant. But yeah, go ahead.
So I would argue that Halogen Eye, if we're talking singles, Halogen Eye was the true single. And I think that that's what they initially thought they were going to release with. But I think they thought Killing Spree was more relative to what was going on a month ago, as we were kind of all entering lockdown,
right?
Or just on the verge of coming out of it, I guess. Or yeah, you know what I mean, like kind of that first week or two.
Yeah.
So they put out Killing Spree. Outside of the album, I was like, this is super interesting. Not really the vibe I thought they were going with, but I'm digging it. But I'm very intrigued. Hear Halogen Eye, and I go, all right, that's a little bit more of what I was expecting to hear.
Right.
Enjoy both songs immensely. Then hearing everything within the day the album came out, I bought it. When I woke up that morning, I had to be at work at 5:45, so I woke up at 4:45 to get ready. First thing I did was roll over and buy the album, and then showered, did all that stuff. Went to work for a full day, and then after work, I got off at like 1, listened to it the whole way through twice. And I did that because it's really good.
Yes.
So,
I think collectively, if we had to make like a site pick for album of the year right now, that's the album to beat, so to speak.
Oh, for sure.
In terms of a collective choice, and it's definitely right up there for possibly my number 1 as well. We'll talk about the other contender in a little bit. But speaking of those two singles, I think they are definitely a statement of purpose, which some singles are. They're reflective of the album you're ultimately going to get, and sometimes it seems very scattershot, like what becomes a single off of a record. But to open with Killing Spree as kind of like this is the vibe we want to lay on people initially, I think keys you in that it's going to be a little bit it's an extremely dynamic record, but in a way that I didn't necessarily expect from them, which is most of the early records, Garden Window included, it's a lot of quiet, loud, quiet, loud. You're the waiting for the build, and particularly like Tanner's vocals. He kind of takes you through his entire range in a given song. And I was amazed at the amount of restraint on this record to like kind of the confidence in like, oh, I like staying in this mode, but like carrying through the entire emotion of the song, but like staying, in this register, if you will. And so instead of these broad sweeping, everything has peaks and valleys to it, I felt like you're getting more of a cohesive feel to the album because you have some songs that just like will knock you on the floor, and then other ones that are very contemplative and a little more thoughtful and melodic and a little more easygoing than you would necessarily expect. almost where you're waiting for like, okay, when's it gonna get loud? And there's a build, but it never quite does that jarring, quiet, loud thing that you maybe think is maybe a little played out at this point as far as alt rock bands go. It's a little more like we can see it coming, and it can be satisfying to a certain extent. But I was really struck by the flow of the album from quiet, loud, as opposed to individual tracks, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally does. And also, you might have to mark right here just because Ben just came back into the house, and so there might be some noise you pick up.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, so.
What's up, Ben?
He says what's up.
Thanks for that B&B Mini. Appreciate it.
He also says thank you for the B&B Mini. He says great. But yeah, so just in case you hear anything, you might have to finagle some stuff.
No worries at all. It'll be a nice little cameo.
But the whole album itself is just unbearably cohesive. Unbearably is not the right word. It's
remarkably cohesive.
Remarkably cohesive.
Yes.
Thank you. The way that it flows from track to track, the way that it builds over time and gives you those heavy hits at the end, but it also gives you a little taste throughout. Like there's different songs that allow you to kind of get that part where it just like kind of, those moments in concerts where you feel like your heart like pounding because of the bass, or the very similar moments in this album where you just get those heavy hits like it drops the hammer and Locust for a second in there halfway through.
Yeah, that stretch where
which I really love.
Really gets going. I'm sorry, I'm trying to pull up my Bandcamp app so I can actually get a track listing, because of course it's not on Spotify today.
You gotta do your research prior, man. I've got notes.
Yeah, I've got some notes, but that stretch, Halogen Eye, again, having not heard it, and it being kind of the traditional what you would maybe expect from them, but still amped up a notch. And notably because you've got Mr. Simon Neil from Biffy Clyro,
who also just put out a new record.
Tethered and torn, you give me synergy, the visceral, the elegant kind, and purpose divine, taken by the urgency, we shiver and quickly entwine.
They did this on Garden Window, the kind of moments of guest vocals here and there, which was a surprise initially when I heard it, because I had been seeing them live in concert for 2 or 3 years prior, and occasionally somebody would get up there and like they rock out on something together, but you very rarely heard other voices paired with Tanner's, and that was the first time where I was like, this is incredible, this is amazing. So I'm glad to see that carried through. But Halogen Eye totally like kind of jump started it for me. Which Soma's great as well, but Halogen Eye into Slipping is where I'm like, oh my god, what are they doing to me? Slipping, probably at this moment, favorite track, and it's followed up by Locust, which would be my second favorite at the moment.
Oh man, I think the first 9 tracks are just it's that is flawless on itself.
Yes.
Spill on the Carpet is probably my least favorite track on the album.
But you need a
pulses.
little breather,
Yeah,
I think, before Leave Me Out.
which is really nice. So that's that would be my complaint. It's not a bad song. It's just kind of like not as good as the others.
And I think what you're saying though is
works really well on this album.
What we've lost as kind of the culmination of that stretch, though, what we lost immediately is like an all-timer for them, where I'm like, it's not the traditional closer, but I could see this being a closer of sets in the future, like if they're not playing this sequentially. And then I love the beginning with You and I and outroing with it. So probably we'll open the episode with some of them, but I definitely want to play Slipping at some point because I think that's just the dynamics of the production we should mention. It's Andy Hull and Robert McDowell from Manchester, of course.
And Gobatron.
Yes, of course. And Bad Books, of course. That's 2/3 of Bad Books right there. Oh, and of course, yes, the additional vocals on Slipping from Jesse Barger of Color Revolt. And he's in a band called El Oboe as well right now. So, let's take a listen to...
the first moment...
Go ahead.
The first moment for me where this album really comes to where it goes is that first chorus for Soma. I'm going to say Soma. But that first little rise into the chorus, I think is where I'm like, it really vibes for me at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Play into Halogen Eye, which is that heavy, and I think exactly what you said was Slipping. Slipping is, God, it's good. I love that Devil in Your Bed. It's just very creepy. But
there's a lot of more industrial feel to, particularly the percussion. I hear a lot of 90s era 9 Inch Nails in here, and this may sound a little weird, but I hear a lot of Bjork as well. Especially.
You get a lot of this, it's almost self-deprecating in moments, right? If you're looking at the lyrics of this, there's these I want songs, I want to be the person you want me to type, you want me to be, and I want to go back to this place where we were, and I also realize that, you're right, and it, trudges along, and it almost feels incredibly personal, not knowing Tanner at all.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like lyrics that are really kind of just showing the up and down of personal relationships and shame and the need to be the best version of yourself, but also are you letting other people down, and the anxiety that kind of comes with that. And you feel that throughout the entirety of the music, and you feel the moments of hope. And I think that it feels like a very human experience as you kind of go through this album from start to finish. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about it, is it really is this kind of rise and fall, ebb and flow of feelings and emotions that really define the human experience, which I think is beautiful. And so I think that's what helps this album work so well.
Absolutely. I think that's beautifully put, sir. It's maybe a little early to call it. I think I'm very comfortable saying that I think this is the most accomplished record they've put out to date. I think the production's on another level. The emotional core that you mentioned that has always been there is still ever present. But I still personally, of course, give the slight edge to Garden Window. That's like an all-timer for me. But I
Which
think
is funny to me because I give the slight edge to Endless Light.
Yes.
So
and this will be the endless debate about Oh Brothers catalog. Yeah.
right. Yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and then I'm sure
tracks,
there's some
man.
people that are ride or die for Disillusion, which I think is a great album as well. But if we're ranking them, of course I'm always going to be attached to Garden Window. But this
Well, it's funny too. It's the
I
same,
was
it's the
so
same way when you call like
overwhelmed
Looper
by.
Ryan Johnson's worst film, right?
Yes,
Like
it's definitely that sort of conversation for sure.
where it's like, yeah, Looper's Ryan Johnson's worst film, and it's still an 8 out of 10, right? So like that's kind of how I feel about O Brothers catalog. It's like you can rank one worst or best, and yet they're all great. So
For sure.
how do you really define it?
Yeah. So I look forward to potentially as early as like fall of this year or winter, hopefully getting to see some of these songs live.
So I got to see Halogen Eye live back in
When did you
October.
last catch them? Yeah, it's been a while since I've caught an O Brothers show, unfortunately.
So they did their headlining tour when they did what was their first EP? Why is it? I'm
Death
drawing a
of
blank.
Day.
Death of Day. They did their Death of Day anniversary tour.
That's right.
headlined.
Yep.
And they were with To the End of the Ocean, a couple other crews. But they did a great show. But they played Halogen Eye. But when you're like in context or outside of the context, you're kind of like, yeah, this sounds great. I can't wait to hear it inside of the album and see what's. And now I'm like, oh, I should have paid more attention to Halogen when they played it the first time.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were phenomenal then. They still are, and hopefully they get to tour soon, and hopefully we get to go see concerts
Yes.
soon when it is safe to do so.
Alrighty. Anything else you want to particularly share about your experience with You and I? Again, I think we're both continuing to listen to it, and like I'm only enjoying it more and more as I go through. But I was immediately, holy shit, this is a 10 out of 10 upon my first listen. So
Yeah.
yeah, and
It
that has not
rewards
changed
the re-listen, definitely.
for sure.
The more you dig into it, the more you can just kind of sit with it, the better and better it gets. And
Great headphone record, but also a great car record to just throw
absolutely
on for a drive.
There's a lot when you listen to it on headphones that you're able to kind of pick up.
Definitely.
I mean, I think that's what's fun. You just got little moments of like little high-pitched guitar riffs that just kind of float on top of songs kind of hidden in the production of it. But like when you hear it, you're like, it just adds another layer. I think when you get all those like ambient vocals that kind of come on top of it, again, by themselves, it's just it seems very simplistic. But when you add all of them together, it just creates this absolute symphony that's just a pleasure to listen to.
For sure. So we'll try and highlight definitely like 2 or 3 in the midst of there. But yeah, I guess we can transition if you want to. I've got a few other albums worth shouting out, and then I thought we could kind of talk about the state of online music and just like the cool things that have been happening, live streams, etc., that people have been putting together that you can go check out. So I mentioned this is like neck and neck for my number 1 of the year so far. For me personally, I know you didn't feel as strongly. The other album that's right up there right now that I can't stop listening to is Fetch the Bolt Cutters from Fiona Apple.
Fetch the bolt cutters.
Yes. Yes. That was solid. You want to sing the
Yeah.
rest of it?
No, I don't know the rest of it. That's the only
Gotcha.
That's the only thing I remember from it.
Obviously, it's been praised to no end by pretty much every major musical outlet. I've actually now started to see not what I would consider backlash, but I saw a very interesting long-form article. I think it was on a site called Long Reads. I don't have the author's name in front of me at the moment, but it was essentially like, is there a problem with me if I am not like in love with the new Fiona Apple? Like, what am I not getting that everybody else is responding to so heavily? And like kind of an investigation of why they didn't feel strongly and then why they felt that it was even a big deal that they didn't love it as much as everybody else. Great, funny piece. Really, really enjoyed it. I'll link to that in the show notes.
That's definitely a nice way to kind of approach it, right?
Yes.
Because there definitely are albums out there. If you're like, yeah, I didn't vibe with it, and people are like, what the hell's the matter with you, man? Like,
And anytime something is like, I mean, it had universal acclaim before I ever pressed play on it for the first time.
I think last time I looked at it, it has a 100 on Metacritic, which
Yes.
is absurd.
So you go into something like that with one of two kind of listening modes. I feel like you're either actively going into it going like, all right, prove to me this is a 10 out of 10. Like, and you have your guard up the whole time. You're waiting for it to give you reasons to not think that it's as great as everybody else does. Or you go into it and you're like, well, everybody says this is great, so of course this is great. And maybe you gloss over things that you maybe butt up against because you're like, well, everybody else loves it, so it must be brilliant, right? You told me you were pretty much at like a 7 on this one, which I'm not going to sit there and argue with you to the end of time that like you're wrong, because that's completely that's stupid. That's a dumb argument to have, because that was your reaction to it. I personally, again, leveling all of that in my head, where I was like, okay, yeah, everybody loves it, but do I genuinely think this is like the best album of the year? And I do at this point. I've been what I would call a mild fan of her for a while. You and I talked a bit about it. I love her first 2 records, and then I kind of, not through no fault of my own, I didn't really like actively stop paying attention to her, but she's not an artist I pick up and listen to all the time.
Well, in her career path, I feel like, if I'm remembering correctly, and this is all trying to be off the top of my head, and like what I feel like I remember seeing on VH1 is when they did like behind the music type stuff. Was they really tried to turn her into this like Mandy Moore, Britney Spears kind of sex symbol, which I feel was never really her style or spoke to her, the art that she was making. And I think that's why it kind of like she fell off, I feel like.
There's a bit of that, and just the trappings of fame, etc. And of course, there's the famous award. I forget what award show it was, but the whole "this world is bullshit" thing, which in retrospect makes a lot more sense. Like the context of what she was saying, that like we put way too much stock in award shows, etc. Who is anybody to tell somebody your art is better than this art, etc.
That's not how it came off, though.
Yeah, exactly. At the time, everybody was
right,
like, "Hey, stop complaining! Like, you're rich and famous. Like, shut the fuck up!" Basically. And now, yeah, when you go back, it definitely plays very differently. But she'd been on a little bit of a self-imposed hiatus for a bit, and then there was also the mythic quality of this, in the same way that you get with like the first Bon Iver record or something, where it's like, oh yeah, she made most of this in her house, and like the percussion's like her banging on the walls, and like her dogs are in it at different points as like percussive elements. There's just all of that stuff, all of the peripheral stuff you hear around it. And so I'm primed for like, what the hell is this gonna be? And then at the end of the day, as with all of her music, the lyrics are what win the day for me. She's an incredible songwriter, and her vocal delivery is, I mean, experimental in and of itself. She's one of those people I put into like the Joanna Newsom category of, I'm like, nobody quite sounds like that. There are roots in the blues and stuff, but she has gone so far beyond that in terms of like where she can take her voice and the different styles she can do within like a given song. And some of that may come off as a little like showy or too experimental for some people, but just start to finish, I was engaged with it. And then when you like, the lyrics are very present, they're very in your face, but even the deeper layers of going back and re-listening a couple times, I was like, there's heavy shit in here, but it never loses this kind of like momentum throughout the entire record, for me personally. So
yeah, I think for me that I didn't really have issues with the album, except for the fact that it just didn't hit me, I think, the way that I wanted it to. For me, I wanted more hooks scattered throughout.
Yes, completely devoid of hooks.
Yeah, I really love the vibe that a lot of the song structures have, and the you kind of already said it, the jazzy, bluesy roots that majority of the songs on the album kind of bring to the table. And I always wanted that, like, all right, give me a hook, a bridge, something that, like, can sink into my brain, and it never comes, which is fine. It's like, so, because, like I said, it's not bad by any means. There's no bad song, right? All of this is great, and I think it definitely, you get kind of her life experience and frustration with things kind of comes out through it, and her kind of breaking the chain, right? And so
a lot of really, again, tough and heavy material, some directly about her, some about friends and things she's experienced peripherally. But I felt like it never all of a sudden felt like, oh my god, this is like crushingly depressing, or like it just it always has this lilt to it at the whole time. Something I want to, I agree, no hooks at all, But for me, there's some of these vocal runs that just are so impressive that like that's the thing you want to learn or latch onto or sing along with. In that vein, I want to play a little bit of For Her, I think. Incredibly impressive, and we can just play the first little chunk here, let people get a feel for it. And this is definitely, all of a sudden, this is almost like a power pop song for a second, but it has different segments to it as well. You can never quite pin down like where she's going to go on this. So check out For Her.
Look at how feathered his cocks are, see how seamless his frocks are. Look at his paper beat over that rock star. Look at how long she walks and how far was she lost, or maybe she was not for traveling in the stock car anymore. Maybe she spent her formative years dealing with his contentious fears and endless cheers at her endless tears. Or maybe she just got tired of watching him sniff white off a starless breast, treating his wife like less than a guest, getting his girl to clean up his mess, never showing weakness unless it's award season. It's the season of the ward. She's trying to cut the cord. She's tired of planting her knees on the cold hard floor of facts, trying to act like the other girl acts. And your strike may have been exact, but you know that you never really go to the mat. You tie everything up pretty in the second act, when you know that it didn't go exactly like that. You arrive and drive by like a sauced up bat, like you know you should know but you don't know where it's at. Like you know you should know but you don't know where it's at. Like you know you should know but you don't know where it's at. You arrive and drive by like a sauced up bat, like you know you should know but you don't know where it's at. You arrive and drive by like a sauced up bat, like you know you should know but you don't know where it's at. Like you know you should know but you don't know what you did. Like you know you should know what happened when I came to bed. Like you know you should know but you don't know. Like you know you should know but you don't know. Like you know you should know but you don't know what you did.
All right, that's definitely a highlight for me personally, but again, I endorse the whole thing, but particularly the stretch of Relay, which is the 5th track on the album, pretty much through the end. I've listened to that like once a day since it came out. I'm really digging it. Currently, it is my number one. Oh Brother is right there next to it. And I'm listening to both of them all the time. So we'll see which one ends up on top at the end of the year. And who knows, maybe we'll have a slew of like brand new records to talk about in the coming months, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Not to go too deep into other albums that I've been listening to, but things that I would just highlight and tell you to go listen to. Printer's Devil from Ratboys is a pretty solid outing from this year that came out in late February. Fun little track on that is Alien with a sleep mask on.
I don't know about me. Take my life and put it on a pedestal. I don't get beat down this way usually, but it's time for a change of scenery. I'm an alien with a sleep mask on. I'm an alien with a sleep mask on. Alien with a sleep mask on. And I don't know where I went wrong.
All right.
Which is the opening track to that, but it's that's a fun record. And then Brain Pain by 4 Years Strong, and that's more of a I love 4 Years Strong and that style of music a whole lot. So this
feel
definitely
you.
plays to my crowd chants and upbeat riffs and things like that. So that's a fun album as well if you're kind of into that post punk beardcore. I don't know what to tell. Like
Talk is cheap. You cut me on another lucid streak. I wish you didn't have to watch me bleed as I pick up all the pieces that are left of me. Trying to walk on the upside, but maybe I'm upside down. I tried to fill the space between us when we
We'll give people a
more
little
upbeat
taste of
stuff.
those on here, and they can decide for themselves. One I want to shout out that I know you're in the midst of making your way through. I don't know if you're going to finish it or not, but the latest Man record, Dream Hunting in the Valley of the In-Between, which has been like 7 years in the making. In my personal opinion, totally worth the wait. I think it's their best since On Oni Pond. They're a great band. If you are a fan of Modest Mouse, or more particularly Ugly Casanova, the kind of darker, weirder Modest Mouse side project, if you're a fan of Frank Zappa at all, this is the band for you. You probably are already aware of them if you're into any of that sort of stuff. But yeah, I highly recommend it. I'm going to play a little bit of On the Mend for people to check out right now.
And oh, I see your heart is on the mend again. How did it happen? It should have been different this time. You thought you'd gone and found the one who'd come along and fix it all, but that's just a song you heard. You heard it wrong, I'm sure. You built it up to break it down. Now you're stumbling around without a sound in your chest tonight. Set it up, knock it down. Maybe you love the pain you found, but I don't, so I won't stick around for more. And oh, I don't know, should I smash my phone? And oh, I don't know how to let it all go. Oh, I don't know, should I smash my phone? Oh, I don't know.
All right, that is, I guess it's going to end up being like the third or fourth single off of it, but just a massive album. It's 17 tracks, and then I think you got a radio edit of one of the singles on there, so 18 tracks, and just for me personally, an incredible listen start to finish. The range of influences, as always with those guys, is pretty incredible. And lead singer, he goes by Honus in the band. Ryan Ketter, I believe, is his real name, but he's never been better, in my personal opinion. Super fun album. Great bike riding album. I always shout that out because I have certain albums that are go-tos for me whenever I'm riding my bike, and that is now one of them. So that's Man, and that's Dream Hunting in the Valley of the In-Between. Great title, great cover as well. Go check it out.
It is definitely an interesting cover, for sure.
Yes. New Pearl Jam. I wasn't like, oh my God, this is the second coming or anything, but I was glad to see them back and doing some stuff that I enjoyed. Particularly the single Dance of the Clairvoyants. I think I was kind of hoping the whole album was going to be that vibe, and it's really not. But I still like some other things on there. But that's worth checking out. Gigaton from Pearl Jam. What else? The new Strokes. It sounds like the Strokes. So if you like that, maybe it was worth the wait for you as well. I thought it was all right. It was a good record. That's pretty much it on the album front, but I do have a handful of awesome things to shout out for our listeners to go check out online, and I will definitely drop links to whatever I can of these in the show notes, so definitely make sure to check there. Any other albums you wanted to shout out before we move along?
No, I think those were Printer's Devil by Ratboys and Brain Pain by For You're Strong were the two big ones that are worth checking out.
Absolutely. Okay, so I got a handful here to mention. I don't know if you've had any experiences with like, oh, these artists have been releasing stuff. I went and checked out this live stream, or I went and checked it out on YouTube a little later, but there's been a lot of cool stuff going on. The more high profile ones, Radiohead has been putting out concerts, I think every week since the pandemic started. Like professionally shot classic shows from them that haven't been readily available anywhere else prior. So they opened with a show from 2000, like right after Kid A came out. There's been some stuff from the 2016 era around Moonshaped Pool, but the real crown jewel thus far actually just came out, and that is their 2006 Bonnaroo set, which most hardcore fans are like, this is one of the best live sets they've ever played. I actually watched a bootleg of it years ago, which was fantastic. But notably on this upload from them, it has the original desk audio from that night. So it is essentially like the best quality audio that's ever been provided for that show. Johnny Greenwood in particular says that that's his favorite American festival show he has ever played. He said it was pretty much transcendent for them. So I highly recommend that one. But again, they're keeping you entertained. They got like a new one every week, essentially. On that front, Aphex Twin has released one of his classic concerts from, I think it's just a handful of years ago. But it's a great outdoor festival gig. It's about an hour and a half long and has some of the most insane visuals I have ever seen at a live show that I was not, unfortunately, able to attend myself. So if you're into Aphex Twin at all, or if you can put it on mute if you're not a fan of his music and just watch some of the craziest visuals you'll ever see. All of those are available on YouTube as well. Band I've mentioned on our albums of the decade list, and I've brought them up a couple other times. Band called Idols, who I adore. They have a live album from the Bataclan, or Le Bataclan, in Paris that they released. I believe it came out end of last year, but the live footage from that had not been available until the last couple weeks. They broke it up over individual parts, released over the course of the week, and now you can go watch the entire thing. It is an incredible setup. They have what feels like upwards of like 50 cameras shooting the band and the crowd, an incredibly dynamic show and a great gateway into them. This is kind of them at the peak of their powers off of Joy as an Act of Resistance, their most recent record. They're in prime touring form and just, they absolutely kill it. The entire set's incredible. Go check that out. Again, check the show notes if you want links to any of these. Okay. I don't know. I consider him a good buddy, even though I don't know the man personally at all. I got mistaken for him once, which is still something that lingers in my brain. You remember Mr. Brian Fallon from a band called the Gaslight Anthem?
Oh yes, I do.
Yes. Yeah. That guy, amazing songwriter in his own right, he has been doing a cool little show called Sitting Around the House, which he live streams on Instagram Live, but you can go catch most of them that have already occurred on YouTube. But he's had different songwriter friends and just people he's fans of calling in, they video chat, talk about their songwriting process, and then they play stuff back and forth acoustically for each other. And it's awesome. The most recent episode featured Mr. Andy Hull of Manchester Orchestra.
Yep.
That one just dropped yesterday. But you might want to go check this one out because I thoroughly enjoyed it. Watched it yesterday. He did one with Mr. Stefan Babcock from Pup.
You know I love Pup.
And it was only the second time ever that Stefan said he had played acoustically, ever. And it was on a live stream on Instagram for this thing. So, yeah, go check those out. He's done like 7 or 8 of them so far. But they're super fun. He has a new album himself out called Local Honey. Maybe we'll take a listen to something off of Local Honey right here. I don't know what I'm going to play, but this is from the latest record. This is Brian Fallon, formerly of the Gaslight Anthem, now a solo artist, and the album again is Local Honey. Go check that one out. All right. So, yeah, stay tuned to his Instagram because it seems like he's going to have even more awesome people coming on in the future, and I think they're doing those like once a week. And the last thing I want to shout out, recently there was basically a 3-day online festival called Love from Philly with a bunch of Philadelphia-based artists coming together to raise money for different stuff going on inside the state. I think partly to support musicians who are out of work, but also just service industry, etc. People who, bars that they would have normally played at, etc. So there's a bunch of awesome bands on there. The aforementioned Man played a set. I haven't been able to get my hands on that one yet. They closed out the night and I missed it when it was airing live. Nobody's reposted it yet, but you can go watch one of my favorite bands, the band who gave me my favorite album of the decade, The War on Drugs, one of the biggest Philly bands, in the consciousness right now. They are all in 6 different cities right now. They did a Zoom chat, and I can't imagine the technical difficulty that goes into getting everybody in the same tempo and like synchronizing all of that across an internet feed, and again, 6 different cities. But it's incredible, and they only play 2 songs, but it's great. They were just cutting across the state basically to a bunch of different bands who were in different locations, but it's only 2 songs, both from the most recent record. It's incredible, though, to see like how good it sounds with them all playing in 6 different stages. It's nuts, dude. So that's the Love from Philly set from War on Drugs. Kurt Vile was on there as well. A couple other big names. So check out those set lists. They're available on YouTube, as all of this is. Okay.
That was a whole lot, Noah. I feel like I have to one-up you.
Well, yeah, it's been...
Well, everyone, if you go to YouTube, they have music videos on YouTube, and you can watch them. And it turns out almost every band's every music video they've ever done is on YouTube. So
This is true.
Take
There
that,
you go.
Noah.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a topic of conversation for a lot of people. Like, well, okay, what are the best like live stream cool things going on? And it's almost gotten to the point where I'm like, that stuff is over. What it used to feel like, oh, it's hard enough to keep up with like what's coming out week to week. You check out the new releases on Spotify. On Tuesday, you see what's new to rent or stream on Prime for movies, etc. Always trying to keep up with the endless amount of streaming shows, etc. But now that we're all in quarantine, it's like people have like, oh, well, I have this new show that's for the span of quarantine. We'll see how long it goes. And
Dude,
I'm
5
doing
months from now, it's gonna be the new Renaissance, right? Like,
yeah, dude. I didn't mention him, but like Ben Gibbard from Death Cab has been doing daily live streams since this started. He plays a live set for at least an hour every single day. I think maybe he takes weekends off, but that's nuts.
Oh,
to
Brother
me.
themselves have been playing virtual shows. Like Tanner's just been doing acoustic stuff, or not acoustic, but like.
Yeah, we didn't shout that out. I think that is rebroadcast on YouTube as well. But Tanner played solo, I believe, on the eve of the release of You and I. So go check that out. Again, any of these that I can readily find for people. Some of them play better on your phone. Like I recommend actually checking out. If you go to Brian Fallon's Instagram, you can go back to the post from those, and then I think Instagram TV will let you watch pretty much all of those as they occurred. If you watch them on YouTube, they're shrunk down a little bit. Audio quality's still fine, but I recommend actually watching those on Instagram when you're just hanging out on your phone.
Yeah, it is probably worth highlighting that for all these bands, I mean, you're talking about people who make their money for the most part touring, right? Like merch sales and touring is how these people make a living, because you are not getting money from the streams. We even posted like a little joke on Twitter that was like, yeah, just run your like the shortest song from your artist in the background with no volume on repeat all day when you're working, so just to give them like plays. But I mean, you're literally talking, I think like each stream is like,
we're talking like cents on the dollar, I'm pretty sure.
Not even each stream, I think is like a fraction of a
penny sort of
so
thing.
Like,
yeah. It's not a good breakdown.
Honestly,
for
sure. I think it takes like 20 streams to equal like a cent. It's ridiculous, and so you really do have to go buy their merch.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of these bands go support them.
Doing like new shirts and stuff like that, so that they can support their crews and stuff that they went touring with. And so yeah, go buy the merch.
Go on their websites directly, but also Bandcamp has been a great resource for all of those artists right now, because I think overall there's a reduced rate of like the cut they take off the top for basically the entirety of the pandemic, but specifically I think it's the first of every month they waive all of their fees. So literally any dollar amount that you spend on a band, that 100% of that goes directly into their pocket. There's no in between. There's no little bit that gets taken off. They're getting 100% of whatever you're giving them. So stay tuned for those. If there's something you were waiting to get, maybe hold off until the first of the month on that, so you can give them as much as possible at one time, basically. But again, Bandcamp has been great about assisting the artists, so it's also good to support them because they are supporting all these people. So yeah, just buy stuff. But I can highly recommend that. I've done that with a handful of artists since all this started, and some of them you'll actually get like personal responses from, which is very cool. So yeah, check that out.
Yeah, go buy merch.
Yes, go support all of the artists we played here. Check out all the links in the show notes. Go find some cool stuff. And what have you been enjoying on the music front? Albums or stuff, basically music on the internet at the moment? Let us know. thearkofe@gmail.com. We'll definitely do another music-centric episode coming up soon. Of course, Gavin Blanchard and I will be back with more 2x2 retro reviews, and eventually, if we get a new movie that's worth talking about, I guess the next one slated is King of Staten Island, the Judd Apatow, Pete Davidson movie.
Yeah, come June 12th.
I think that's the next big one that we probably would have talked about, and we'll now talk about.
Telling you, Bad Boys 3 is going to win Best Picture.
I'm rooting for it. Yeah. And Wendy
also,
for
I
everything.
want to
else.
highlight you as we talked Radiohead earlier. I think this is a fun little anecdote. So I've been running trivia with my a group of my friends, and so I did an album covers round. You know, nothing. My friends are not musically inclined. Like they like music, but we're not talking about people who are, like listening to vinyls at home and
Right.
laying on the floor, right? So these are not like that. It's not that crew of people.
To be
I
fair,
need
that's
those
not, I don't think
friends.
that's either of us either.
Yeah, we just.
I would
you know,
love to listen to vinyl on the floor. I don't have the ability right now.
So like it had like the album cover for Nevermind and Dark Side of the Moon and stuff that's just like clearly. So I put OK Computer, thinking that would be like at least some people would get this. Like I'm not trying to make it so hard that it's not fun to play trivia, but for like
pretty
6
iconic cover.
groups, like when we're talking about like 20 people that like could not tell me the name and could not tell me it was even Radiohead. Like they just absolutely.
So
bombed
when
on
you
it. And
do
I was
that,
like,
like,
this
do
is
you look up a file
absurd.
that's just the image with the title removed off of it, or do you like black out the title?
So I removed the title from it, so it was
Okay.
just the image.
Gotcha.
But like pretty iconic album cover, right? Like
Agreed,
most
yeah.
people I would feel like I mean, Karma Police was a massive hit when it came out.
But also, I mean, maybe not of our generation. Maybe you had to be closer to the actual release of it, you know, and be a little bit older at the time for it to be like, I don't know. For your
If
average
you have
music
not
fan, I'm
listened-
saying,
if
like,
you have
for a
not
time,
listened
they
to
were the
OK
biggest band in the
Computer yet-
world. But now I think they're just the most respected band in the world.
Yeah, if you have not listened to OK Computer yet though, like what are you doing?
Yeah.
Well, it's not like you got time. Go put it on. What do you like?
yeah. What are you
So-
doing with your life?
That's my little like, oh, I need new friends type of moment.
Yeah. Give them the King of Limbs cover next time. See what happens.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah.
No way.
All right, man. Anything else that you could think of? I appreciate you joining us once again.
Yeah, thanks. We should be wrapping up Bending Not Breaking, our Avatar: The Last Airbender podcast.
Yes, final episodes are
and,
coming, guys. It's gonna happen.
We'll wrap up season 2, and then we'll start planning and recording. We've already recorded a little bit of season 3, and hope to have that out to you midsummer. But there's a lot of question marks in the air, so we'll just do what we can and do our best.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know when you're hearing this, but again, I'm trying to keep Flashback Fridays as a thing going. So we started with The Thing last week. I don't know what I'm gonna do this week. Actually, maybe you and I can talk about this after we're done recording this episode. But yeah, some classic episodes, classics in quotes there for sure. But classic episodes from the Arkofe. We're doing those every Friday. And like I said, I'll be back here with Gavin for more 2x2 retro reviews. And I'm trying to get some stuff cooking in the background. Maybe some solo pods headed your way. But we're doing stuff. We're doing what we can, given the current state of the world. So, yeah. Hope everybody's staying safe out there. Once again, thank you to all of our essential personnel, etc. I know things are like starting to ease back into opening right now. So everybody stay safe and smart out there. And again, thank you to Mr. Sunshine Mayfield for joining us over the phone and doing social distancing right. There you go.
Happy to be here, but also there, I guess.
Yes.
In
Here
digital
in
form.
spirit, 100%. I enjoyed talking with you. All right, do you want to give us a closing track to play everybody out with? We can go "Oh Brother" if you want to, or if you got something else that jumped to mind.
No, let's start and end with "Oh Brother."
All right. Now, the question, though, do we go out on a banger or do we go out on a quiet note?
Let's go out to What We've Lost. Let's do that.
That was going to be my suggestion for a closer. All right. So, to close this out, this is Oh Brother, amazing band from Atlanta, Georgia. Go buy their new record, You and I. This is What We've Lost. Until next time, stay safe, stay smart, and stay tuned.